On the morning of December 1, 1948, the discovery of a body on Adelaide's Somerton Beach initially appeared to be an ordinary tragedy. A well-dressed man was found slumped against the seawall, legs extended, looking as though he had simply fallen asleep. But the standard methods for identifying a stranger failed immediately. The man carried no wallet, no driver's license, and no passport. He was a person completely disconnected from any official record. Investigators then found that every single manufacturer label had been meticulously cut out of his clothing. From his jacket to his tie, any branding that could reveal where the suit was bought or who it belonged to had been surgically removed. At the autopsy, the pathologist noted physical symptoms, an enlarged spleen and congested liver, that pointed toward heart failure caused by poisoning. Yet, when the samples reached the lab, toxicology tests returned no trace of any known substance. Weeks into the investigation, a tailor discovered a tiny hidden pocket sewn into the waistband of the man's trousers. Inside was a tightly rolled scrap of paper printed with two words, Tamam Shud. The phrase is Persian for "it is finished." It was the final line of the Rubáiyát of Omar Khayyám, a book of poetry that was becoming a household name in post-war Australia. A body with no name, a death with no chemical cause, and a cryptic sign-off created a total information vacuum. In the absence of facts, the public and the press began to fill that void with their own explanations. The mystery shifted when a local man turned in a copy of the Rubáiyát he'd found tossed into the back of his car near the beach. The final page was missing, and the paper scrap from the body matched the book perfectly. Written in pencil on the back cover were two specific pieces of evidence: the phone number of a local nurse and a sequence of capital letters arranged in 5 lines. Naval intelligence officers and professional codebreakers spent years trying to find a pattern in those letters. They looked for shifting ciphers and hidden meanings, but no one could prove they were anything more than random characters. This was 1948. The Cold War was taking shape, and the fear of Soviet intelligence operations was becoming a national obsession. This atmosphere of suspicion was heightened by geography. Somerton Beach was a short distance from the Woomera rocket testing range, a highly classified facility where British and Australian scientists were developing missile technology. Newspapers began connecting the missing labels, the uncrackable code, and the nearby top-secret base. By the time the man was buried, the narrative was fixed. He was an international operative, eliminated in a professional hit. For over 70 years, the case existed only in the realm of theory. That changed in the 2000s, when Professor Derek Abbott began applying modern investigative tools to this century-old evidence. Abbott's connection to the case eventually became personal. He married Rachel Egan, the granddaughter of the nurse whose phone number had been found in the dead man's book. In 2021, after years of legal delays, the Australian government allowed the man's body to be exhumed. Scientists finally had access to viable DNA. The team turned to forensic genealogy. By uploading the man's genetic profile to public databases, they triangulated his identity through shared family trees. This method uses profiles of ordinary people to build a bridge back through time, reconstructing a history lost for decades. The biological data moved the case out of the shadows of Cold War fiction and into the territory of measurable fact. This is a DNA profile chart similar to the ones analyzed in 2022, which revealed the man's likely identity, Carl Webb. Webb was an electrical engineer and instrument maker from Melbourne, born in 1905. In the years leading up to his death, Webb's life had become unstable. He had separated from his wife, Dorothy, and eventually vanished from all public and tax records. The scientific identification immediately overwrote the decades of speculation. The image of the elite operative was gone, replaced by a real person with a documented, if difficult, life. With Webb's identity established, the bizarre clues from 1948 require a new interpretation. The missing labels were likely removed by a man in emotional distress who wanted to disappear completely and avoid the shame of being identified. The uncrackable cipher takes on a more grounded possibility. Rather than espionage instructions, those letters might have been Webb's personal shorthand for something common in his life: horse betting mounts or engineering mnemonics. Even the Tamam Shud paper feels less like a secret agent signal and more like a personal reflection. For a man far from home and separated from his family, a poem about mortality would have carried a profound, private meaning. Some questions remain. The exact cause of death and his specific connection to the nurse in Glenelg are still unconfirmed, obscured by the passage of time and the limitations of 1940s forensic evidence. We are often drawn to grand conspiracies because they offer a sense of order to the unknown. But the story of Carl Webb suggests that our most enduring mysteries usually hide a more human reality, a person who fell between the cracks of history and waited 70 years to be remembered.
Every case has a story. See you in the next investigation.